It's Friday, ladies and gentlemen, and that means we are ready to party. We are able to go through and hop in a 2023 fantasy football draft. Now, I asked y'all in the live chat what y'all are wanting in terms of which draft we got in today. Looked like we had about split 50-50 between the Chow Chow and the Poodle. So because we've been getting in a lot of the Poodle drafts, we'll go ahead and we'll fire up a Chow Chow one. This is going to be the $50 buy-in on Underdog, $250,000 prize pool. First place, $50,000. Second place, $25,000. Let's go ahead and let's jump into this. Hopefully we get a decent pick. We'll see. We'll see. But we have Jake out here saying drop a like on the stream. Yes, if you have not done so already, drop a like on the live stream. Francisco says, first time here live. Happy to see you out, my man. Antler Ice, a long time member of the flock, out. Happy to see you. So let's see what we have. Okay, 7. Going to be interesting. We will queue up our usual picks. We will go ahead. We'll queue up the wide receivers round 1. Y'all know what I am trying to do. We'll grab the best wide receiver that falls to us, and then we will take value later on in the draft at running back specifically. But real quick, of course, just in case you've been living under a rock and you don't know what's going on, this is Underdog Fantasy. These are best ball drafts, so that means there's no time commitment at all during the season. I draft pretty much 700 underdog teams every off season. Last year, I drafted over 700, won $150,000. And we'll be drafting here every single day until the season starts. So if you want to get in a draft with us, if you want to get into a draft in the public lobby, make sure you go sign up for Underdog. Use promo code FLOCK and they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. Also, with promo code FLOCK, you are going to get my 2023 fantasy football rankings and a free trial to flockfantasy.com. Quick side note, this is where Underdog's available. You can pause this. Gray states, not available. Yellow states available. Pretty much 90% of states have Underdog Fantasy. But Stephon Diggs going off the board at 3. Oh my gosh. Cup goes 4. Interesting. If CMC falls to us at 7, is this the first time we take Christian McCaffrey? Tyreek goes. CMC off the board. Okay, I was going to say maybe just from a uniqueness standpoint, we go ahead and we take Christian McCaffrey here. Ends up not having to do that. We will go ahead. We'll take A.J. Brown. Now, Hopkins just got cut. So I know that some people have been saying we may end up seeing DeAndre Hopkins go to Philadelphia. Personally, I don't think it. Personally, I think you are more likely to see DeAndre Hopkins going to Kansas City and disrupting Travis Kelce than he is going to the Eagles. But nonetheless, we will take A.J. Brown. Now, Dart Doogie coming out of the donation. Thank you, my friend. Says 10-team PPR start 8. Burrow, ETN, Akers, Chase, Olave, London, Frymuth, JSN. Don't have much on the bench and have to start 3 wide receivers and 1 flex. A great team, my friend. Not too much to discuss. I mean, if you only have to start 3 wide receivers and a flex, let's say in general, we're going to be looking at this as a dynasty format where you're not having to go ahead and you're not having to build around a lot of depth. So in my mind, I think you've already kind of optimized the roster for how we would want it. Maybe the only thing is if you want to ship Olave and try to get Higgins in a small upgrade somewhere else to get the double stack in in Cincinnati, maybe you could look to do that. But OMG ends up getting Bijan Robinson and Austin Eckler falling down to 12 and 13. Definitely a very unique start. And yeah, you're seeing Bijan Robinson consistently go later than what you've had at the beginning of these draft contests. Like I said, I've drafted Bijan Robinson in maybe one of these tournaments, and I've drafted over 100 teams already. But back a while ago, Bijan was going at like pick 7. Bijan was going at pick 6, 5. Now, more and more, you're seeing Bijan Robinson go here in the tier of Taylor, Eckler, Barkley, which is in my mind where he belongs. We're going to take Olave. Like I said, generally, we're trying to get our wide receivers out the gate early. I understand a lot of people don't like Olave in the second round. I think if you look at Olave's rookie season in comparison to other rookies we've historically seen, It's in line with Julio Jones. It's in line with AJ Green. It's literally only in line with elite stud level wide receivers. And he had Andy Dalton at quarterback. Going to be completely fine going through and betting on Chris Olave. What I also like about going AJ Brown to Olave is Olave usually goes to the 2-3 turn. AJ Brown usually goes here in the late first. So it'll be a very unique start out the gate for this tournament as well. But real quick, I see that we have Bush out here in the chat with us in this draft as well. Says, now Mason, you already know my favorite players, so no sniping. Hey, I'll be looking at Elijah Moore when we get to round 10, my friend. I may or may not, or round 9, sorry. Darth Dookie coming out says, 2 out of 2 yesterday was offered Bijan, Addison, James Cook, and a future first for Chase in London. Was I right to decline this offer? Okay, so if we're looking at Chase versus Bijan Robinson in Dynasty, give me Jamar Chase, but it's not the biggest gap in the world. If we're looking at London versus Addison, James Cook, give me London. If we're looking at the 2025 first, it's a 2025 first. In reality, I think it is going to be up to you, my friend. If you are a contending team, I'd probably go ahead and keep Chase and London, which I know you are a contending team. Jeep Guy says quarterback's definitely falling lately. 100%. You already know I was going to say it, my man. If you haven't noticed, not only are you seeing the trend to Bijan Robinson now falling to the 1-2 turn, but you're also seeing these quarterbacks fall to the 3rd round. I've actually started drafting these quarterbacks now. I've actually been able to come away and grab a couple teams where we have Devonta Smith in the 2nd, Jalen Hurts in the 3rd, just like what you see Carly do. And I know we almost got it on the live stream yesterday, but literally after the live stream, we ended up pulling it off in a different draft. I ended up getting Stephon Diggs round 1. And then round 2, we probably went someone like Chris Olave, knowing myself. And then round 3, we had Josh Allen on the way back around. Where super, super excited about that. But anyway, we're going to go ahead. We are going to take Breece Hall here, pick 31. This is why we go ahead and we take Chris Olave and AJ Brown through the first 2 rounds. I think the gap between Breece Hall versus Tony Pollard, the running back that goes right after Chris Olave, is smaller than the gap that you have between Chris Olave and Deebo Samuel. If Deebo Samuel were to outscore Olave this next season, I would be genuinely surprised. If Breece Hall were to outscore Tony Pollard this next season, I would not be shocked in the slightest. Cito says, are you doing another 24-hour live stream this year that killed your voice for days last season? I know it probably won't be smart if I do a 24-hour live stream, so we're going to set the bar very high. If we hit 200,000 subscribers on the channel before the season starts, specifically before the season starts, because if I'm going to do a 24-hour live stream, I need to be able to hop in these underdog drafts. So yes, if we hit 200,000 subs, I will go ahead and fire up a 24-hour live stream before the season starts. I'm not doing it during the season, though. There's no way in hell I can sit here and stream for 24 hours without actually being able to draft teams. Okay. Now we have Etienne Gibbs off the board. So Bush is going with Taylor, St. Brown, Najee, and Travis Etienne. So sometimes you are getting either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne making it back around to you in the 4th. This is not going to be one of those drafts, but it is what it is. Do we go ahead? No, Hopkins goes off the board, pick 37. Okay, interesting to see Hopkins rising. Now, Fields off, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Christian Watson. I mean, we used to be able to get him all the time at the end of the 4th. Now, it is very difficult to draft Christian Watson. Generally, I pivoted to DeAndre Hopkins in the late 4th as a target over the past few weeks. But it looks like maybe we're going to have to go back to Christian Watson. Just depends. In says, I haven't noticed, are you still on locals or is everything on flockfantasy.com? Everything's on flockfantasy.com, my friend. If you haven't seen any of the locals posts, like all of them, like the past 15, have been like, make sure you go to flockfantasy.com. Make sure you go to flockfantasy.com. If you still have a subscription to locals, please reach out to me. That way I can transfer your free credit on locals to Flock Fantasy. So please send me an email, my friend. Just give me the email address that you have attached to your flockfantasy.com account. And then also give me the username or email address that you had on locals as well. Brad Barrick says, Sup Mason, just became a mother flocker today. Love the content. Thank you so much, my man. Yeah, if y'all haven't had the chance, go check out flockfantasy.com. Of course, you can do so in the description, or you can just type in flockfantasy.com. If you use promo code FLOCK, you get 30% off any subscription. And also, with the Mother Flocker package, I will go ahead and break down a podcast of your fantasy football team whenever you draft it. But again, thank you so much for joining the flock, my man. And we have a massive dono coming out from Bush Sports. Thank you, says, hyperfragile seems to be what I'm funneled into a lot these stakes and higher stakes drafts. Don't always love it, but the unique teams can be lethal if it works out. First off, my man, you know I owe you a massive thank you. And second off, it is interesting in that it seems like 2 years ago, the first Best Ball Mania team that won was a hyperfragile build. So 2 years ago, everybody was like, okay, follow the leader. Now it's hyperfragile. Then it didn't work out 2 years ago, so nobody does it anymore. It's like how now everybody's following the leaders saying, oh, week 17. So it's interesting if you wanted to pivot back over to that strategy. It really just depends on like that wide receiver value that you can get later on. If you're comfortable with the wide receivers that you can find in round 7, 8, 9, etc., then hell yeah, go for it. I just have a very hard time finding wide receivers I like there. Okay. Jose says, are we doing another poodle after this? If we had 350 likes, RM already says doing another draft when we get to 350. Yes. If y'all have not done so already, go down there and hit that like button. When we get to 350, we'll fire up another one. Okay, we have a couple questions asking what hyperfragile means. So a big thing with hyperfragile is that means people are going to go through and they're going to take a couple of running backs at the very top of the draft, and then they are going to load up on a ton of wide receivers later on. So, in these underdog drafts, because there's no time commitment during the season, you are not able to make waiver wire moves. So generally, you want to be drafting about 4 to 6 running backs. Here with this team, when we wait and we only have, say, one running back so far through the first 5 rounds, and we took that running back in round 3, I'm going to be drafting either 5 or 6 RBs. But here with Bush's, since he decided to take Taylor round 1, Najee round 3, and Travis Etienne round 4, what you're going to actually see is you're going to see him stop drafting running backs very soon. He's most likely only going to draft 4 running backs, and he's going to load up on a lot of depth wide receiver help, which of course may end up working out in the best ball format if the spike weeks come whenever whenever you're wanting. You really need to hit on a couple of guys like Devin Duvernay last year though. But Nathan says, so team 6 pretty much. So team 6 went CMC, Pollard. Not necessarily. I'd say Bush is a better example of what a hyperfragile build is going to look like. So he'll probably grab one more running back here in the middle rounds and then be done drafting RB. But this is news to me as well. Okay, so y'all know someone else that we haven't really drafted at all here. Kenneth Walker. We were saying once he started going at the 5-6 turn, Kenneth Walker will be someone that I'm drafting. Kenneth Walker has now fallen to the 6th round in this draft. Oh my gosh, have y'all seen this before? Lockett goes off the board 63. We decided to take Michael Pittman over Kenneth Walker. Walker finally off the board 64. Crazy value on Kenneth Walker. I will for sure be drafting Kenneth Walker if he's going round 6. Like I said earlier, when these contests opened up and Kenneth Walker was a player going in round 4, at the beginning of round 4 even, it was like one of the worst picks you could have made. No idea why people were doing it. But here, if you're getting Kenneth Walker pick 64, that is an absolute no-brainer. No-brainer. Okay. So now Deontay Johnson going off the board here at 67. Jordan says, I got refunded $50 for 2 canceled Best Ball Mania drafts. Why do you think they got canceled? Most likely there was some kind of collusion that Underdog found where 2 accounts were going through and like playing together, like getting in on the same time and going, okay, you take a quarterback here, I'll take blah, blah, blah. Underdog has to do a lot in terms of making sure that all the contests remain fair. So occasionally you'll see like, okay, if someone goes in there and does something crazy in a draft to try to make it unfair in the overall tournament, Underdog will cancel the entry and refund everybody in the draft. And then usually if it's someone who's done that over and over again and tries to cheat, ban the user. Of course, I can't speak on your exact scenario, but I would imagine that most likely someone was doing something that was unfair, so Underdog canceled it and refunded everybody. Okay, Jeep Guy says, how do you feel about Greg Dortch now? I think it's going to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. I don't think you can be too excited about Greg Dortch. If you're looking for like a sneaky winner from DeAndre Hopkins being let go, obviously Hollywood Brown's going to be the first guy everybody goes to. Hollywood Brown here goes pick 68, about 10 picks before where he was usually going. If If you're looking for a sneaky winner, maybe you can pivot over and maybe you can look at Zach Ertz. Just maybe. But Pacheco goes off the board here at 73. So we have a very well-balanced team. Like, I don't necessarily think we have to sit here and be sending up prayers that any specific position makes it back to us. I mean, we're sitting here at running back with Breece Hall, with Dameon Pierce. At wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, and Michael Pittman. Skylar says, come on, Flock. Almost 400 people watching and only 150 likes like the video. Yes, drop a like. RM coming out says, I keep seeing this. Why are people picking 4 to 5 quarterbacks? Because they don't know what they're doing. You should only be picking 2 to 3 QBs. Even if you were to wait to the very end of drafts, if you're going through and selecting 4 quarterbacks, I mean, you're just completely lost. Like, if you see someone take 4 to 5 quarterbacks, you should be happy about that because they're going to be pushing value down to you outside of that. And they just have a completely dead team that has no shot to win either. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get George Pickens here, 79. It's not like I'm sitting here in the biggest George Pickens fanboy in the world, but I mean, pick 79, I do think is more than fair if you're looking at where he goes in the majority of these drafts as a late 6th, early 7th round pick. Okay. Now let's move this down to Deshaun Watson going off the board, 82. Interested to see what Bushes does here. If you're looking at the players on the board, maybe he goes through, and if he wants to take his 4th running back and then be done with it, maybe he takes a guy here. Maybe he goes Darren Waller, Brandon Cooks. We'll see. Interested to see what you do here, my man. Goes to Alexander Madison. Okay, so I'm going to assume that he is now going to be done drafting running backs. Of course, I may very well be wrong, but that's my assumption if he's going to go through with that hyper-fragile build. Chef EV says, I've been drafting a lot of Gallup. How stupid am I? I don't think you are stupid unless Hopkins goes to Dallas. If Dallas is adding on DeAndre Hopkins, of course, it's going to be a tougher situation, but I don't know, my friend. I think you're probably fine. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take a running back, whether that's a James Conner, David Montgomery, or Javonte Williams. We'll take whoever falls between these RBs. Okay, let's see. MLB pitch. Goes James Conner. We'll go ahead. We'll take David Montgomery. I've been taking a lot of James Conner. I've been taking a lot of David Montgomery. I've been taking a lot of Javonte Williams, a lot of James Cook. And the reason is because you will not find me drafting Michael Thomas, Cortland Sutton, Jamison Williams, Juju Smith-Schuster. In rounds 8 and 9, we want to be slamming in running backs. We reach on our wide receivers a little earlier so we can take advantage of this sweet, sweet value that we are getting with David Montgomery at pick 90. But Bush coming out with another donation. Thank you, my man says, I'll spill the secret that Mason won't tell you. Mason called this player, quote unquote, garbage in a recent team review stream. He's Devin Duvernay. He's Zay Jones. He's prime Julio Jones. Paris Campbell is that guy in round 18. Okay, well, I'm sorry for calling your guy, quote unquote, garbage, my friend. And I'm not going to lie to you. You have convinced me on this front. You got me looking into Elijah Moore. That was one thing. But I'm going to pull up my Paris Campbell exposure just because I know you will be proud of me at this point. Okay. Let me go ahead and let me pull this up. Now, I do not agree with the sentiment. I do not think he is prime Julio Jones. But I think he is on an empty depth chart, has the contract you'd be looking for, and is I think Jalen Hyatt's bad. So for those reasons, I have a decent amount of Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell currently, for me, I have an 11% of drafts, which for an 18th round player is quite a lot. He's not drafted in every league. Bo Sports says, I think you said 9% today, and I visibly smiled at work now here. I'll show you, my man. I maybe said 9% on Wandale. I don't know if you can see that. That's 11% Paris Campbell. 11% Paris Campbell, $169 of entry fees. Brock says, more like, where is Wamble? Ooh, interesting, my man. I didn't know we have a poet out here. Let's see. Evan Ingram off the board at 96. Alvin Kamara 95. Maybe we just talked yourself into having to draft Cortland Sutton if everybody takes all our running backs. Tech Demon says, Campbell's my 3rd most drafted player, LOL. He's my auto last round pick pretty much. One reason I do get a decent amount of Paris Campbell is because I'm completely fine taking Daniel Jones where he goes. So, I mean, naturally, if I get Daniel Jones, like, okay, easy 18th round pick. Just go through and add in Paris Campbell. James says, what's the percentage Courtland Sutton? Y'all know last year, I think it was pretty much 0%. Like, it would show 0% because I drafted him maybe in 3 out of 700 leagues. Now, it is much higher this season. It is not 0% anymore. I am currently sitting with 3% Courtland Sutton. So yes, I guess this means I am a Courtland Sutton truther now that we have him in 3% of our drafts. But let's go ahead. Fundamental Bear says Colts are claiming Anthony Richardson isn't really nearly as raw as media made him out to be. Okay, first off, I will take Anthony Richardson here strictly because, one, we have Michael Pittman. 2, and the more important reason is because he falls 14 picks past his ADP and has a ton of rushing upside. Second off, if you are looking at anything that the team media is coming out and saying about these rookies, take it and throw it in the garbage. What do we expect? Do we expect the Indianapolis Colts coaching staff, general manager, front office to go out there in OTAs and go, oh, guys, I'm not going to lie to you. Don't have great news here. Anthony Richardson may not be as good as we thought. Anthony Richardson may be more raw than we thought. It looks like we're getting Gardner Minshew this season. Would they ever say that? No. So every time you hear a piece of news, this training camp, think, would it be reasonable for them to say the opposite? If it wouldn't ever happen in a million years, then ignore it. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that everything's garbage at training camp. Like, if you think about it, if they go out and we here in Miami, okay, yeah, no, Raheem Mostert's clearly the one. I mean, you don't have Devon Achane anywhere close. You don't have Jeff Wilson Jr. anywhere close. That's some news that we go, okay, well, I mean, they don't, right? That's not necessarily something they're going to say no matter what, right? It's like you're going to say no matter what that your rookie franchise quarterback is awesome, that he's ready to go, that he's going to score 1 million points this next season, and the Colts are going to be the best team in the NFL. That's what they're going to say no matter what. So just try to filter some of that stuff out. Now, let's go ahead and let's look at this. Odell, no thanks. We're going to take Jacoby Myers. I was about to do Penny. I just can't, right? I mean, with Odell Beckham Jr. as well, and maybe, I mean, we'll take Odell when he falls past ADP if we have Lamar Jackson, but outside of that, I'm not taking Odell. And y'all know Odell is one of my favorite players as well. Or at least back in the day he was. But the thing is with Rashad Penny, there are some players in the next round at the running back position that I could convince myself I would rather have at running back. Whereas if we're going to look at the opposite end of the spectrum with Jacoby Myers, there probably aren't too many wide receivers in the next round I can convince myself I'd rather have over Jacoby Myers. So, I mean, I'll go ahead. I'll take Myers here. It kind of is what it is. We'll be able to find a running back that we like at pick 127. Okay. Tesla says, Brian Hoyer to Jacoby about to be deadly. I mean, oh, yes, especially when Jacoby Myers is out there run blocking for Josh Jacobs. We're going to score a ton here. We're going to score 1 million points. Okay, let's move this down. And Bush, meant to tell you, my man, every Sunday now we are going through and we are having those interviews with members of the flock. So if you ever want to come out and hang out with us in that live stream on Sunday, let me know, my friend. Let me know. Okay. Now we have Gibson off the board, 119. Mike says, hit the like button for another draft, fellas. Looks like the vast majority of y'all have already hit that like button, though. So thank you so much for everybody supporting. Let's move this around. Yeah, we're doing it every Sunday, my man. You can find the live streams. It's like me and then the little goose like being interviewed. Okay. No Soup for You has 3 quarterbacks here. It's Lamar, Cousins, and Dak. Elijah Mitchell is the running back we were targeting, pick 127. Kind of sucks that we don't get him. Khalil Herbert's another running back we would have wanted. Maybe we should have got ahead, and maybe we should have taken Rashad Penny. Dalton Kincaid off the board. I have no idea why No Soup for You has gone through and taken 3 QBs. Of course, probably smarter than I am, so I probably have no room to talk here, but I just don't get it. We're sitting here at wide receiver with Addison, Deontay Johnson, Zay, Odell, and Gallup. We'll go ahead. We'll take Rodgers. We'll be a little bit of a unique stack here that we have with Rodgers. We have Aaron Rodgers paired up with Breece Hall, getting Rodgers about 14 picks past ADP. Now, we can do a couple different things with this. One, we could go ahead and we can take 3 QBs if we really wanted to. Or we could stop at 2 QBs and go with 3 tight ends. So, I don't know. And Talent says Mason has 2 ARs. That's a good point as well. Rolling in with 2 ARs, we got both Anthony Richardson and Aaron Rodgers. So, wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, Jacoby Myers. Running back, we have Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce, David Montgomery. Quarterback, we have Anthony Richardson, who ADP 89, we get him 103. And we have him stacked up with Michael Pittman. Aaron Rodgers, ADP mid-10th, we get him mid-11th. And we have him stacked up with Breece Hall. So, I like this team. Okay. Henry says, my last 2 poodles, I did get the Diggs-Allen combo rounds 1 and 3. Oh, that is beautiful, my man. I had one that I was able to pull off yesterday. Like I said, you're now seeing those QBs go in round 3, which, I mean, sometimes gives you a nice opportunity to jump on them at a good price. Okay, so I'm going to see where these guys like Rashee Rice as well as Sky Moore are going with the, I don't want to say risk, but with the worry that Rodgers may be going over. I'm sorry, not Rodgers. Hopkins may be going over to Kansas City. Hyatt off the board 134. Hyatt's just someone I'm not interested in at all. Esso says, I've taken Ronald Jones in the 18th round of the last 2 poodles. So one thing that's interesting to think about, if you are trying to get leverage over the rest of the field with a unique player that nobody else is drafting and at the same time may have access to some upside. Okay, side note, we'll take Rashee Rice and go, okay, maybe, just maybe DeAndre Hopkins does not go over to Kansas City. We'll take him here at pick 138. But if you are trying to build a unique team with players at pretty strong values, one thing that you could be looking at is trying to figure out who the running back 2 is in Dallas and who the running back 2 is for the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, that player is most likely going to be getting touches this next season, of course. I mean, if you were looking at those guys, I mean, Eckler isn't a running back that sees 60 to 70% of the touches in his backfield. On top of this, you'd say Pollard probably doesn't project to see 350 plus touches. So I don't know. I feel like if you could figure out who those running backs are that will be playing in a pseudo committee and also have some handcuff appeal, if you were taking those guys in round 18 every draft, you'd just be printing money. Now, of course, I have no idea who those guys are. It's not like I'm sitting here taking Ronald Jones in every draft. I'm not taking Joshua Palmer in every draft. So, I mean, it's much more difficult than you would assume. Okay. Now, Irv Smith Jr. off the board, 143. Tanner says, I've been taking a lot of Vaughn in around 18. I mean, Vaughn's a cool story, of course. I mean, the primary issue is, come on. I mean, you're looking at a player that's what, like 5'6"? If you're 5'6", it's going to be a tough spot to be able to handle any type of real workload at the NFL level. Okay. Bush Sports says, I love Mario Solar's team. Okay, let's go ahead and let's check this out. Okay, Mario Solar, where is this? Okay, this is the team at 9. Yeah, so it gets Kelsey falling to 9, significantly behind ADP. Also has Garrett Wilson falling to 16 behind ADP. Goes Ridley, Judy, 33-40. Dobbins, Kenneth Walker. Oh, yeah, this is a beautiful team. This is the team that got Kenneth Walker in the 6th round. Dodson, Bateman, Lazard, Harris, second-year tight end in Tennessee. Russ to pair up with Jerry Judy. Yeah, very good team. Primarily fueled off the value you're getting with Kenneth Walker in the 6th round there. Okay. Brock says, if you're the same height as Mason, you'll get faded in fantasy. Okay, my man. I may actually be closer to 6'4" than 5'6". I'm no mathematician, and I don't want to do the math on it, but we'll see. I'm sure my girlfriend will let me know otherwise. But let's go ahead and instead of talking about that, let's take Tyler Higbee, our first tight end. He may be number 2 in Los Angeles this next season in targets. Completely fine with it. We're going to take 3 tight ends no matter what whenever we wait this long. So we'll take Tyler Higbee, and in the last 2 rounds, we'll probably end up coming away with guys like Hayden Hurst and maybe even Zach Ertz, like we were talking about. Zach Ertz may end up getting a small bump with no DeAndre Hopkins. Brock says, I know I just had to make the joke. No, it was a good joke, my man. Maybe I'm pretending that my feelings are hurt. No, it was a good one. Scout says it takes 5 seconds to like the video. If it takes you 5 seconds to like the video, you've never liked a YouTube video before. I'll say a lot of the YouTubers I watch, and keep in mind, I don't really watch any fantasy football YouTube, but the only way I consume content is on YouTube. Like from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, I pretty much have a YouTube video playing. I have YouTube. I don't know how many of y'all have YouTube Premium, but 1, no ads at all. 2, you can close the app and still get the audio playing on the back end, which in my mind is like a complete game changer. So I watch YouTube constantly, but there are like a decent amount of YouTubers that I watch that, I mean, I just pull up, like I click the video and I hit a like on it immediately. But let me know in the live chat, how many of y'all have YouTube Premium? If you watch a lot of YouTube, I would highly recommend YouTube. Of course, I don't get paid for that, but I would highly recommend YouTube Premium. Misa saying, you watch JRE, Mason? Not really anymore. I went and saw Rogan and stand-up. I went to his club and actually saw him perform like an hour-long set 2 days ago. If y'all don't know, I'm in Austin, so went and watched Rogan 2 days ago, which is really cool. Sam says he has YouTube TV. I'm going to have to go ahead and get the Sunday ticket through YouTube TV. Okay, yeah, so we have a lot of people saying YouTube Premium's great. Jason says, I want it, but I don't want to have to pay for it. Yeah, I think they just raised the prices as well. I mean, to be honest, I watch so much YouTube. Like how I said, like I use it for podcasts. I use it for everything. That if they raised YouTube Premium, like realistically, and I'm a very cheap person as well. I'm trying to think of a price point that they could raise it to where I'd still pay for it. If it was $40 a month, I'd still probably pay for it. I think right now it's like $20. But if they doubled it, whenever I signed up back then, it was like 12 or 14 or something like that. I think they've moved it to 20. I think they can move it as high as $40 a month, and I'd still pay for it. Okay. Yeah, everybody loves premium. Nolan says if you're a student, it's only $6 a month. Nolan, you're OMG in this draft, right? If you are a student, I swear in every high stakes draft, I see you in here in Underdog. Mr. TD says free on Android for all you cool Apple people. There's no way YouTube Premium's free on Android. Okay, let's move this around. So we'll take Deontay Foreman, 162. We need another running back. Not too much to discuss here. I mean, maybe you can make an argument for Juwan Johnson, Gerald Everett. In reality, these are tight ends that I think are very comparable to some of the other guys that we're going to be looking at later on. And of course, with Deontay Foreman, we always have to say, hook 'em horns. Hook 'em horns. Sam says, Nolan how are you a student and have a red badge? That's my question over here. Nolan's bragging to us that he's getting $6 a month YouTube Premium. And at the same time, I swear to God, every high stakes draft, if the buy-in's $50 or more and I'm in that draft on Underdog, I see Nolan in there and he has the red badge as well. He's done over at that. What the hell's going on here, my man? Now, Singletary off the board at 169. Let's swing this back around. Nolan says drafts have been good to me. Okay, well, happy to hear that, my man. Happy to hear that. King J says, how's it going tonight, chat? It's going great. Going great. And Mike says, utilize those student loans. So, okay, no. Would not recommend that. Definitely would not recommend that. Okay, Zeke in play. Knox in play. Zeke goes. I'm not a big Jeff Wilson guy. We'll go ahead and we'll take Dawson Knox here as our second tight end. If I had to take a tight end for Buffalo, I would rather draft round 15 Dawson Knox than round 11 Dalton Kincaid. And I'm telling you, anybody that with the brain would tell you the opposite, but I got a gut feeling, ladies and gentlemen. And also the historical data to prove that rookie tight ends don't produce. Oh, I hate when I do that. Okay. Malcolm says, I'm moving to Austin for law school at UT. Any tips? Okay. Well, first off, congrats, my man. I know UT is a phenomenal law school. And second off, congrats moving to Austin. Great decision. And I would say, well, what are some good tips? Never cook for yourself, because every meal that you'll ever have at a restaurant at Austin should be the best meal of your entire life. Second quality tip is Austin. The number one thing that I like about it, other than the food, is it's a city that's built into nature. So if you have a dog, or if you're going to get a dog, or if you like being outside, make sure you look up things to do outside. That's something I didn't really realize the first 2 years I lived in Austin at UT. But yeah, there are so many cool things that you can do. Just go into the lake, go into hiking trails, go into the park. That's great. Okay. Sam says, Mason, non-biased opinion at all about Austin. I mean, I left Austin and came back. So that tells you what I think about it. Brock says, I took out a second mortgage so I could do more underdog drafts. Call it investing. I know you're making a joke, my friend, but I do need to be on record and say that is the one of the worst decisions you could ever make. But it is a good joke. It is a good one. Okay. Harry says, I've been taking Hunt every time in the 18th round. Will pay off when he signs. I've been trying to get as much Hunt, Fournette, and Zeke as I can. Let me see how much of these guys I have. Initial gut feeling is I probably don't have enough. Kareem Hunt, I have an 11%. Okay, so let's sit here and think. We actually may go, oh my God, what am I doing? We're going to go 3 QBs. We probably shouldn't, but we will. We have George Pickens to stack up. We're getting Pickett 12 picks behind ADP. So, yeah, let's go ahead and let's take our third quarterback here. The issue with this is I really, really do not like taking 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. And whenever we wait this long to take our first 2 tight ends, we pretty much have to go through and take a third. So quarterback, we have Richardson, Rodgers, Kenny Pickett. Tight end, we have Higbee, Dawson Knox. So we're going to take 1 more tight end and 1 more running back. Jeep Guy says CPMs on YouTube for fantasy sports. Pretty high, my friend. Don't know off the top of my head. I'd say pretty high. Bush Sports says, I worked 68 hours this week to fund my underdog obsession. It's both fulfilling and fun. Follow for more tips. Well, here's the ultimate tip, my friend. Make your job drafting underdog fantasy drafts. That's a useful live tip I can give y'all. Okay. Yeah, Mike says 50 more likes, guys. Rex says only 50 more likes. Yeah, if you have not done so already, go down there, hit that like button. If we hit 350 likes in this live stream, we'll go ahead and we'll fire up another draft after this one. And if you want to get in our next draft, we're drafting on Underdog. Sign up with promo code FLOCK. You can find that link in the live chat. You can find it in the description. When you sign up with promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match. You will allow me to continue having a job where I stream Underdog Fantasy drafts every single day for the rest of my life. And also, you'll get my 2023 fantasy football rankings. You'll get a free trial to flockfantasy.com, the whole 9 yards. Okay. Now, Bush Sports, listen, it's more like an investment. I work more so that I win Best Ball Mania and never work again. I asked this question. I don't want to go back down this road. I know I asked this question the other day in the live stream, but if y'all don't know, Best Ball Mania on Underdog, first place prize is $3 million. We were asking, like, if you won Best Ball Mania, if you would go back to work or if you would quit, like, what would your work schedule look like? I think the sentiment is that most people, I think it was like 50-50. Like 50% of people would quit, 50% of people would keep working. Some people were saying that $3 million was not enough to retire, which God knows what their lifestyle is. Michael Mayer going off the board, 196. Gucci Broomstick says, what's the best barbecue spot in Texas? I would say Black's. And y'all know I went to the NFL draft flex. At the same time, I tried a decent amount of Kansas City barbecue while I was there. And I can strongly say, and this is coming from someone who is fully willing to admit that Kansas City barbecue is better. And I thought I was going to come back and say, like, oh yeah, Kansas City barbecue is so good. I mean, I don't know why people in Texas think ours is so good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Texas barbecue is 10 million times better. Okay. And if you are going to get barbecue in Texas, I would recommend Black's Barbecue. And if you're going, I would say, pro tip, do not order your meats by the pound. So if you go to like a barbecue place and you try to get brisket, a pound of brisket will be like 20 something dollars, right? Say it'll be like $25. Where if you just go get like a brisket sandwich, they'll give you like a quarter pound and the sandwich will be like 12. The math does not check out in the slightest. So what I personally found is if you want the bang for your buck, if you want to actually be able to afford to go get some nice Texas barbecue, you got to get a sandwich. You can't get it by the pound. Okay, so we may just go ahead, take Gus Edwards, take someone that can see touches on a week-to-week basis. What this team really needs is we need Breece Hall, as Dameon Pierce, David Montgomery. We need our running backs at the top to go out there and dominate, but let me show this team off. I like it, definitely don't love it. Wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Olave, Christian Watson, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, and then Jacoby Myers, Rashee Rice. Running back, this is the weak spot of the team. We have Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce, David Montgomery, Deontay Foreman, Gus Edwards. Tight end, we have Tyler Higbee, Dawson Knox, Hayden Hurst. Quarterback, we have Kenny Pickett stacked up with George Pickens. We have Aaron Rodgers stacked up with Breece Hall. And we have Anthony Richardson stacked up with Michael Pittman. So hopefully that wasn't too embarrassing of a draft, but we have AK Cash coming out with the donation. Thank you. My friend says, Sup Mason, where are you thinking DeAndre Hopkins lands? I think you are looking at KC, the New York Jets, Buffalo, Cleveland. I think that those are the four that we're going to be looking at, my friend, at least in my mind. Mr. TD says Hopkins to Kansas City. The issue is Kansas City just really does not have any cap space to make it work, right? Henry says Cleveland. Cleveland, I think that's like I don't want to say sneaky spot, but that's not like the most obvious dream situation where you're looking at, say, Josh Allen in Buffalo or Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. Ski says Atlanta. Atlanta's not strong enough. Atlanta's not a contender. I mean, I would be very, very surprised if DeAndre Hopkins is willing to sign up to go ahead and play with Desmond Ridder. But looks like that's all we have for you. I am sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but good news. We'll be live tomorrow. I will be live the next day. I'll be live the day after that. So if you want to get in our next draft with us, go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code FLOCK. You can find that link in the live chat, link in the description. Go hop in some drafts yourself tonight. And yeah, that's all I have. Really appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And really hope that we get to see you in the live stream tomorrow.